Alright, here we are, August 2023. Another poor man's dharma talk with me, whoever I am, John Kurayumi Days, whatever, the guy from Facebook. I've been around Facebook. If you know me there. I recently got an Instagram account, but I'm not really gonna use it. I just got one so I could look at somebody's page. I got it and I was like, gee, this is Instagram? This sucks. What are the kids doing? But, that's Instagram. The kids just love it. It's like Apple Jacks. They just like it because they do. My mouth still kind of feels funny, so I'll probably say things like in a funny manner. It's like I don't really have a difficulty talking, but it just feels funny. Feels funny moving my tongue around in my mouth sometimes. I feel like some kind of a lizard in the desert trying to get a fly. But, once again, as always, if I say something, I don't really know what I'm gonna talk about here, but if I say something and you disagree with it and you vehemently disagree, like, oh man, what is he talking about? Just leave it as, hey, I disagree. You can leave me a comment if you want on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. I think my Facebook name, if they still have names, was like, I want to say it's LACAN777, but I might not be right on that. But on Instagram, it's Kurayumi Days. It's just like it is on Facebook. And not Facebook, what do you call that? YouTube, the thing I'm on now. I feel like such an old person. What's that thing with the tube and the radio? It's like, it's red and, it's like a tube. Is it Red Tube? No, that's a porn site. Anyways, you know what I mean. But we'll take a short break for you to get things in order. Grab a couple of peppermints, put on those bunny slippers. I'll strike the singing bowl, and then we'll begin our chat. Once again, thanks again for clicking, if you click this, and after these messages, we'll be right back. All right, here we go. I guess I should try to begin the whole thing. You might hear noises in the background, but maybe you won't. I don't know. I don't know what this thing is going to pick up and what this thing isn't going to pick up. It's kind of funny that way. Like funny, haha. Let's see. Let's just mull over a few things. I think the first thing I want to do is throw out a couple of phrases and we'll talk about them, and I'll talk about what kind of pops up in my mind when I hear these phrases. And I kind of wonder what it makes you think of, and ask yourself, what does this make me think of? There's no real, there's no right or wrong thing. It's not like it's a question or a quiz. It's just kind of, here's a phrase and what pops up in your head when you think this. I'll do a couple of these and talk about it, and I'm just kind of trying to display the kind of stuff that pops up in my brain and in my head on a daily basis. Okay, the first one I want to start with. This is always a fun one. The solar lottery. The solar lottery. I like that. Has a nice ring to it. Reminds me of like The Price is Right or some kind of wacky game show. I think that's the title of a... Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the title of a Philip K. Dick book, The Solar Lottery. It also reminds me of like, oh shit, you've been picked in the solar lottery. So they're gonna whisk you away and take a bunch of pictures of you and give you barley beer to drink, and you're gonna get to make out with a bunch of girls and stuff. And there might be bonfires and weed, and terrible music. And after the day is done, they'll try to roast you alive or kill you or something, because it's the solar lottery and you were picked. You're the lucky winner of the solar lottery. I don't know. That's just what pops up in my brain when I hear that phrase, the solar lottery. Sounds very Price is Righty to me. But, I don't know. That's something to think about. You don't want to, you don't want to get picked for the solar lottery. I sure don't. Yeah, thanks, guys, but no thanks. Let's see. The next one. I love the next one. This is This is a classic. This is a doozy. Psychedelic shock. No, no, no. Let's do this again. Psychedelic violence. Shock of visual crime. What the heck is that? That should be on a sticker, right? Or, it's just what does that make you? Well, where does your brain go when you hear that phrase? Psychedelic violence, shock, of visual crime. Sounds like something on a dust jacket of a '80s book. I think that phrase, or something like that phrase, came from the famous guitarist Hide from the band X Japan. And it's kind of where the term visual K came from. I like that. It sounds like such a write-up type thing. Psychedelic violence, shock of visual crime. But it kind of, it really hits your brain, hard. Like, who committed the crime? Are the searchlights out? What is going on here? Who done it? But those are two phrases that kind of, I don't know, they kind of ring in my brain like a bell sometimes. I've spent a long time thinking about those phrases like the solar lottery and psychedelic shock, psychedelic violence, shock of visual crime. I don't know. I wonder, I wonder what that pops up to you. When I hear psychedelic violence, shock of visual crime, sometimes that makes me think of the old, if you remember those old '80s commercials for Dianetics by L. Rudd Hubbard with the volcanoes and the things exploding. That kind of reminds me of a psychedelic violence, shock of visual crime type situation. Or that funny noise on the movie The Ring when they play that tape. That kind of reminds me of that too. Just something to mull over, think about in your brain. I don't know. I don't know why these things come to me the way they do. I was thinking about personalities. And how kind of, in my worldview, the way I see things, the personality is kind of, it's kind of a finite thing. It's ever changing, at least. I would say it's pretty much a finite thing. It's like the person I was when I was 6 wasn't the person I was when I was 19 wasn't the person I was when I was 33, wasn't the person I was now. Is there something there that endures? Yeah, yeah, I would say so. Maybe. And that goes into the whole reincarnation thing. Is it the personality that's reincarnating? I I wouldn't really say so. If you really think about it, a lot of people describe, well, some people describe it as like you've got a flame on a candle, and as the one candle dies out, you light another candle, and that's a reincarnation. And there's something that endures there, but there's a, it's a whole nother candle, and I don't know. People have a lot of people in the Western world, I'll say, not even. I don't even like saying that because some indigenous people, they totally understand what it means by reincarnation. But a lot of people in the Western world, they think like it's a, like, I was this or I was, and that's an argument. It's like it's the who am I thing. Are you this thing or are you that thing, or how much of this thing are you? How much of that thing are you? But a couple of years back, there was Kay Parker. That name might ring a bell. That name might ring a bell if you're an old person and you went to like porno theaters in the 70s, because Kay Parker was a 70s adult film actress. I think like recently, a year or so ago, she died. And rest in peace, Kay. We won't forget you. I won't. Ha ha. But a couple of years back, Kay Parker came out with a book called Taboo. Sacred, Don't Touch. And it was about her past life recalls in Egypt, being this girl. I don't know if she was like a priestess or royalty or something, like sex worker, but it basically involved like being in the past in Egypt and sex stuff, like learning not to misuse sexuality and the consequences of that. And I can't look at Kay Parker and go, oh, well, that Kay Parker, she is just, oh, she's nuttier than a fruitcake. Do I think Kay Parker was X person in X past? Maybe. Maybe not. And what do you mean by Kay Parker? Obviously, it wasn't Kay Parker. Is there something from Kay Parker that was there and that can recall that? Yeah, probably. I would think, yeah, probably she can. And if you say something like that, come on. You know how they do you if you say something like that in the Western world. They just go, you're a nutter, you're crazy. or you're dark and evil and playing around with things you don't understand, like Pokemon power crystals. It's something. It's something where they send out the police on you, and they corral your ass, and they put you in the corner, and you better not pick up that K. Parker book. Hey, whatever it is, if somebody is experiencing something like that, going through their life, and they feel like, hey, maybe this is kind of what it is, more power to you. You have a right to believe that. It's just as valid as some of this stuff, maybe even more so. It's not some otherworldly crazy thing. You know, that's what it is, man. To me. So, thumbs up, K. Excuse me. I had to burp. Maybe I had a too much V8. But no, it's yeah. To me, the whole reincarnation thing is, yeah. I It's hard for me not to see it that way, because at the end of the day, it's just energy, and stuff goes around. It's a circular thing. It may be quarantined for a while, but it goes around and around and around. That doesn't mean it's the there's a permanent personality, because it's changing. Everything fucking changes. It's like an amalgam of things. You have the five elements. You have everything composed of the five elements, and you have different amalgams of that. So yeah, it's gonna be maybe similar. Is there some instance where the exact same person pops up at some place? I don't. At the exact. Well, it wouldn't be the exact same. It would be a different time anyway. It would be a different time, and who would know? There's people like David Wilcock, which I used to listen to David, but he just went completely nuts. And his whole thing was, look, I'm the reincarnation of Edgar Casey because I look like Edgar Casey. And I'm like, dude, I'm not really. I guess it sells a book, and I guess that's something. You look like the dude, and your friends look like the dude's friends, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're a reincarnation of Edgar Casey. And even if you are, you're still you. You're not Edgar fucking Casey. So it is what it is. But I don't know. There are little kids that have plenty of little kids all over the world that have like past life recalls, and it's people handle it however they want to handle it. And, you can get the stern treatment from the parents, like, don't you ever say that again, and I don't want to hear that. Not in this house. Or you can hear, okay, that's all right, whatever. Or you can hear, hey, more power to you, yeah. And, oh, my kid was so and so, and my kid operated an airship, and my kid, I don't know if that's a good, I don't know if that's a good thing anyway. When I was a kid, I had some weird things happen with recalling stuff, but it's very weird and fuzzy, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I don't. You don't go around talking about it really that much to anyone. I can I can tell you this, it was a different state of consciousness, and you know, I wasn't I wasn't completely nuts when I was like a kid, you know. I wasn't taking a bunch of weed or LSD or whatever. You know, I don't know about obviously, but I wasn't doing that as a kid. I'm sure there's some kid out there doing LSD and popping Larry biscuits and skipping school and doing all that shit, but that wasn't me. So I'm just I'm trying to get the thing across that it's a different mode of consciousness. You can take a hot shower and get really involved in taking a shower and singing a song, and that'll be a different state than just normal consciousness that you experience day in and day out. It's it's easier for some people to experience these things, you know, just depending on a plurality of situations. You could have you could be autistic. You could have a physical impairment like low vision or trouble hearing or something like that. I'm not saying all the time that shit's gonna happen to you, but it's more likely you're gonna pick up on there's something going on here. And it all depends on your situation. Someone could like freak out if you tell them that and you're a kid and Katie barred a door, or maybe they won't. But let's say I talk about people who are like sensitive to stuff and like parapsychology and things like that. If you're sensing something like an energy or even if you want to go way out, some kind of disembodied entity. If you're sensing something like that, I don't know. In this place, in the atmosphere, in depending on your situation, if you're a kid or young adult, it might be best not to even say that to someone because they'll try to put you on some pills or re-educate you. I'm not sure that's the best thing. Can you prove that it's you're sensing energy, or you feel this way and you feel like it's gonna rain and it rains, or certain things have a feel to it, like Fridays have a feel to it, Saturdays have a feel to it, spring feels like spring. It's not actually a thing that you can nail down with one of the senses, but it's a kind of atmospheric, this is what this is thing. People get real twisted into a pretzel if you, well, not all people, but some people get real twisted into a pretzel if you even suggest this stuff. And it's my notion that they're going to have to get over it eventually because some of this stuff is going to be so blatantly obvious that what do you want to, are you going to bury your head in the sand and pretend it's not going on and be manipulated by people that know it's going on? Or are you going to say, hey, maybe this is going on and maybe you need to prepare yourself or prepare your children or prepare the people you care about for, hey, and this is something that may happen. You may be encountered by this. There was some old lady in a book from way back called Psychic Self-Defense, and that doesn't have to be some kind of new age, otherworldly. You don't even have to believe that different. You're affected by whether it's different electrical bodies, different bands of energy, or different disembodied entities. You don't have to believe any of that, but you can still have a psychic self-defense on things that are healthy for your psyche and things that aren't. Watching a bunch of people get burned alive on the news day in and day out, and watching people get shot up over and over and over again, that's probably not a healthy thing for your psyche. Take a break from it. Doing the same kind of routines like over and over again, you can do that, and I'm not saying don't do that to an extent, but just mix it up. Throw something different in. I mean, for your own mental well-being, throw something different in. It's not gonna hurt. You know, I like hamburger. But if I had hamburger every day, it would be, I think I'd lose it eventually. I like naughty movies on the internet. But come on, man, I'd be some kind of a zomboid if I just sit around for like 20 hours a day watching and listening to naughty stuff on the internet, on like Pornhub and all of that. It's, if you want to moderately do that, then fine. But just recognize that it is affecting you're not, it is affecting your psyche. You're not going to get away from that. I knew a guy, and I'm not going to name him or anything like that. And I knew this guy for years and years. He was a different kind of a guy. He was very adamant about the things he believed and what he wanted to do in life, and how he was going to get money, and he got money. He even somewhat amassed. I'd say he's got some fame to a degree. He's a, I don't know. He's a very weird guy. He has a very strong personality. Some would call him charismatic, but a lot of the time after you've had enough of him, you become like, man, this guy's a drain. You know, whatever he is and whatever he's on, I don't know about this guy. Just he did some things that were pretty. You could call them negative, I guess. Yeah, I, I would. He's a very decadent type guy, but he's like, hey, I've earned it, and I want to do what I want to do. You know, that type. But he would watch like, I don't know. I don't want to feel like I'm tattletaling on anyone. But like he would watch some like really grimy stuff on the internet just to feel like, okay, I can watch this and I can not really give a damn, and I can feel empowered, but I've watched it. And I mean, it's empowered or not, if that shit's affecting your psyche and the kind of conclusions you come to with things. So it's like, that's something to keep in mind. But it really, it wouldn't shock me if a lot of these rich, powerful, famous people that they think they're steering the world. And I'm sure they got like weird videotapes of like women in high heels stepping on rats or whatever. And look at Hunter S. Thompson. That's a guy where it's like they said he watched like shit like that, and then he ended up like getting sick of cancer or something, and like blowing his brains out with a shotgun. So it's like, you know, look out. That's all I would tell you. I'm not watching that shit. I'm not gonna be that guy anyway. Though I'm not. I don't have an issue with like the power thing where it's like I've got to sleep with all these women because that means I've got power. I've got to do this because I got to feel empowered. Whatever. If you have something to say and if you want to express yourself, however you want to do that, that's fine. But if you're just saying it or doing it because you wanna like have power over someone, ask yourself, why do you want to do that? Why do you feel small like that? So that you're like, oh, I've gotta feel big. Gotta be like Tom Hanks in that movie. Yeah, I don't know. Just something to think about. You know. I don't know if anything I'm saying makes a lot of sense, but it makes sense. I sure as shit makes sense to me. I don't know. I talked to a good friend of mine, Jesse, and we talked about a good bit of stuff. Kind of similar issues and things to what I'm talking about now. We were talking about the whole electric thing. different bodies like planets and stars having an electrical nature, and acupuncture and things like that, and Western medicine, and as opposed to like Chinese medicine or Ayurvedic medicine or things like that. And that was an interesting chat that we had. I mean, yeah, it was surprisingly we agreed on a lot of stuff, but I don't know if it should be that much of a surprise. I don't know. You never know until you actually talk to somebody about something. You gotta talk to somebody about something. I mean, it's, when you do, make sure that you're check and double check that you're actually listening to them. It's, I'm not trying to be cute or funny or anything, but it's like, it can happen to anyone. It happens to me. We all have, no matter who we are, how we are in relation to people. We all have these images and these things in our mind about who they are and who we are. And if you can put that aside for a while and just try to just meet them as a human being and listen to them as a human being, it'll make things a lot easier in life and more understandable in life. I mean, it happens. Don't, don't do the one thing. I know it's tempting. But you never know. What am I trying to say? I've been going for a while now. I'm just gonna go over a few things and wrap things up. But the whole thing is personality is, personality is ever changing. That's what I would say, and it's finite, and there's not anyone that knows everything about everyone. There's not anyone that knows everything about a subject. So, just keep an open ear and an open mind. The whole COVID thing happened. It's kind of funny looking at that because it's like a lot of these things constantly happen and they're really polarizing. You got one side and you got the other side. It's like, I absolutely know this and I absolutely know that. And I don't know. I know what it feels like to me. Everyone's coming down on Bobby Kennedy Jr. or whatever. And I used to listen to that guy like 12, 15 years ago on Air America radio, if you remember that. So he's not a Republican, that's one thing, but they're doing a hit job on him, I would say, where he's agreeing with these crazy Republicans, and whatever conclusions Robert Kennedy Jr. has come to, he's come to them. He's lived a fairly long life, and he's got every right to believe whatever it is he believes. It's not like he's just jumping on some bandwagon. He's been for these things and against these other things for a while. he didn't. And that's the thing with all people. There's nobody out there who's just, their whole life they've just sat around and done nothing. I've never met that person in my life. You gotta try really hard to do nothing. Even if you're some monk or ascetic somewhere in some monastery or ashram, you're still doing shit. There's no, you know. So the myth of the person that does nothing, and all of these things are things that come up in your mind, dude. I've done this. They've done that. They haven't done what you've done, but in the end, they've done something. So what is it? Where is it that they don't have a right to an opinion? Or somehow you have the ability to shrink down their opinion because you've done X, Y, and Z. If they have an opinion on X and you've done X, then that's a different thing. But if they're talking about something and it's not related to X, why constantly quit? For goodness sake, just slow down and listen to what they're actually saying. And if you can't, if it just doesn't make any sense, if there are too many mental buttons being pressed or whatever, don't say anything. Take it back and process it. That's, you don't have to do this stuff. I'm just saying this stuff just as a suggestion, because it helped me out. I had opinions on people, and they have changed, and they didn't change until I just sat with them and sat with the opinion that I have, sat with what they were saying, sat with what was going on in the world around me, and just processed the shit. And it's different, That's, opinions change that way, eventually. Like, most of the time. Sometimes they're just not, because sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. But, sometimes that shit'll change. But it's like the Kennedy thing and Kennedy isn't a QAnon guy. That's what I would say. Heck, I don't even know what the QAnon thing, that doesn't seem like much of an organic thing to me. It just seems like people trying to steer people around, like, hey, QAnon, come on in. Come along, you belong. Feel the fizz. That's a reference from a Rescue Rangers episode. Cuckoo Cola. But, it's... I hope shit gets sorted out, but looking at it the way I'm looking at it, I don't see it getting sorted out in a lifetime, and I hope it does, But you have a lot of people under a lot of anxiety and mental stress, and a lot of people smoking weed because of the anxiety. And I don't really have it's not for me, but I don't know what's worse, dude. I would rather those people smoke weed than take a bunch of questionable pharmaceuticals at this point. 'Cause it's like I was talking to someone, and I made a joke that the music is better on the pharmaceutical commercials than it is on the radio now, because they're trying to sell you harder on that than actual music. But, if you have someone in your life and they've had a mental break or whatever, and maybe they've been to the psych ward a few times, maybe they're on and off of pills, whatever the case, try to listen to what's going on with them. Don't look at them and assume you know what's going on with them. Because, hey, I've been there. You know, I know who I am. I know who I was. Don't know who I will be, but I know who I was and I know who I am. I'm not me and plenty of people I've met in life that have mental things come up, little bullets with we're not slow. It's not that we're not paying attention to what's going on, or it's not even that, oh well, you can't separate what's real and what you actually know and what's this and what's that. It's not, once you're down in the thing, it becomes harder to actually operate your stuff of what you know and what you have separated. I have an analogy of, let's say you have a web browser and your goal in that web browser is to look up videos on YouTube. Well, when you're going through some of these mental things where it's like it's an abundance of things, it's like your web browser is stuck at like Amazon or Hot Topic or something like that. And you've got all these windows that are popping up and opening up. And you're just trying to operate this one web browser and type in the address to YouTube and go to YouTube and look up a specific YouTube video. But you're stuck at Hot Topic and everything is moving so slow. And for some reason your mouse is trying to move over like a black hoodie and click that black hoodie over and over again. It doesn't matter what you know. You can know. Sometimes the best you can do in that situation is just use all of the mental energy or whatever to not click that black hoodie. You're not gonna get to YouTube until things slow down and until you get more memory or more ability to process. You're not gonna be able to, even if you know, hey, I want to go to YouTube. I know the coordinates for YouTube. You're not able to go to YouTube. So, the best you can do is just not do fucking anything. I know that seems like, oh well, how could that be? It's a how could that be situation until you're actually in that situation and experience it. And I'm not saying this because I'm trying to be cute or anything like that, but if you haven't, dude. I haven't worked a 9 to 5 job, I haven't sat around all day uh, dropping acid and smoking weed. I haven't built a particle accelerator in my garage, you know. I wouldn't know how to tell you about that, you know. I've read a heck of a lot of books. I've done a lot of processing of things that have gone on in my life. You know, I wasn't sitting around smoking dope. I wasn't channeling the galactic command or whatever. You know, it's just sometimes it is what it is on its face if you actually look at it, but you have competing things, whatever those things are. You know, mental images, mental constructs, just impulses, uh, whatever. But hey, I know who I am and I know who I'm not. I know that I didn't do one thing. I didn't do the other thing, but I did do something. High school, it just didn't do it for me. I've, I'm not the only one, dude. There's people that in the 70s, and this is way back in the 70s, they saw through the whole high school thing and they were like, they were in a situation where, what are you going to do? I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but they just dropped out and they enlisted into the army or whatever. And I guess that's an option for some people. Whatever the case is, if the thing isn't working on, it's cat is trying to attack me now. Hopefully he won't get on hopefully he won't get on the audio. He's rolling around on my bed. But there's always an option. I look at the high school thing like, I know this is a weird analogy, but I look at it like the movie RoboCop 2. And you're like, what the fuck does that have to do with a Robo? Remember RoboCop 2 where they were trying to build another RoboCop, and they had like these cops that they put in these robot bodies, and all of them just like wigged out and like just self-destructed and like killed themselves because they couldn't handle being in a robot body. That's To me, that's what high school looks like to me now. It's like you've got all these kids like freaking out and just going on shooting sprees and whatever, and it's like you might make it through high school. You, a lot of people do, but something something in the system doesn't seem to be working for a lot of people. And what's going on? Because they're just completely wigging out and they're killing people. So maybe try to reform the thing. Cause hey, you might be able to crank out like a RoboCop every once in a while, but everyone who goes through the system is not gonna be fucking RoboCop. Some people are just going to self-destruct with the way that the thing is. And the thing to me seems to be getting, if it was bad for me when I was a kid, and people I've known over the years who went through the system were like, man, you know what? It was really bad. How bad must it be now? That's all I'm saying. And it's not just the school system. It's like so many of these things in America and a lot of the industrialized world, it's like it's they're not working. I mean, we should all be able to agree that hey, this shit isn't working. So let's try to reform it. Let's try to make it something better. I mean, if you really care about the thing and if you really think the thing is beneficial to people, try to make it better while you can. You only have a finite amount of time, you know. I do these videos and just talk randomly just to manage my mind, but if somebody stumbles upon one of them and gets something from it, you know, that's a great thing. You know, it's not. I heard this thing once, and it was like a First Nations, like indigenous elder, and they were talking about the languages, and a guy asked the dude like, "What are you gonna do if these songs are lost, and if this language is lost?" And he said, "You know what? If the language is lost, or if these songs are lost, if there was anything to the language or the songs, they will be found again." And that's just something to think about, you know. You have a choice to put out whatever it is you're putting out. You know, if you're reacting to something and you just want to like lash out and destroy, or if your highest intent is to help somebody. And if you keep trying to help somebody, eventually, you know, you'll get better at it. If you keep doing the thing, eventually maybe they'll figure out what it is you're trying to convey to them. So just, you know, keep it up. Keep going and yeah, try to empathize with people's situation. But like I say, with the mental thing, it's like you're going down this labyrinth, and once you get to a certain point, it's not like there's some logic buttons you can press and go, well, gee, this can't be that way, and I've got this in my mind separated in this corner, and this in my mind separated in this corner, and the two things will never meet, so I'm good. It's not a situation like that. But it's like all that stuff. It's like someone taking a can of Campbell's soup, opening it up, and dumping it onto your brain or onto your mind, and you've got to navigate through all these different vegetables and mushrooms and little chunks of chicken, and you've got to sort out and make an order out of that with the stuff that you do have in your mind already just regularly, and you know it's a lot. Even if you're on a battery of pills, it's a lot. Are there things you can do that will help? Yeah, I know what helped for me, but it didn't help in a day. And I know, you know, all I know, and I don't know it 100%, because everything is constantly changing. But all I know is the whole magnetics of my conscious mind. I'm not in anyone's mind. So, whatever. Psychics, whatever. It's, you know, even the whole idea of a psychic person that's not, it isn't someone that says, oh, you're thinking this, you're thinking that. Oh, I'm psychic. I know everything you think. That's a bunch of harsh shit. That's not what it is anyway. From my understanding, I don't think that's what the thing is. I knew a girl pretty well. She's someone that she was my best friend for a good while, and I even dated her. And her family was really weird, to say the least. They were abusive, and she used to always have this pillowcase that she'd carry around that belonged to her grandmother who died. And her grandmother, she wasn't like Sylvia Brown or anyone like that, but supposedly she was psychic, whatever that is and whatever that means to you. I mean, that's what people knew her as, that sometimes, I guess. I don't know if she was like super famous or anything. But anyway, where I'm going with the story is her grandmother died, and she used to always talk to her and hang out with her when she was a kid, but I think she died when she was like in her teens or something. And I don't know. Her parents were kind of weird, and I don't think they were very responsible people. I I only talked to them like maybe like twice, maybe 3 times, but it was really rough talking to them. A friend of mine talked to her dad, and she came to the same conclusion that I came to. But anyway, it's like they left. Her grandmother died, and they left her. They left her with her grandmother's body for like half a day, with her dead body in a chair. I'm not, I don't know. I have my own stuff going on, and I have a series of things going on with that person. Not now, but I had a series of things, in my head. It's like I had my own ideas about who she was and why she was the way she was. But doing shit like that is gonna have an impact on people. And you know, she came to certain conclusions in life that, I don't believe in anything, and when you die it's just like a black screen. It's just fade to black, you're dead and it's nothing, and everything is nothing, baby. And yeah, science. And, she was always going on about Sylvia Brown and how Sylvia Brown is so full of shit. And, oh man, she can't stand that Sylvia Brown. And I'm not a Sylvia Brown fan. I think she's full of shit too. But it's like, in my mind, I still leave the possibility that there is some kind of there's some kind of phenomenon going on with people and the natural world and kind of intuition or synchronicity or little blips that pop up. It's I don't when you say psychic, people get all kinds of different images in their head of what you're talking about. Even when you say something is like innocent as meditation, people get images and blips of like what it is and what it isn't. And you know, it's it can be a lot of things. But to me, yeah, the psychic shit, it can happen. Are you a psychic? If you stand out in the rain and it rains on you, are you the rain? Is the rain part of you or what? You know, quite frankly, and yeah, this is just my opinion from being around the person. I think she may have experienced some psychic stuff, whatever that stuff is. But whatever the case, the doors were like at that point they were completely shut to just about anything, dude. I mean, just about fucking anything. And that's what it is. It's when you say a phrase like doors of perception, once again, everything comes up like people think you're talking about a drug thing, and I'm gonna open up the door. I'm stepping through the door. It doesn't have to be anything like that. There was a guy in Vietnam that saw one of his mates' bodies shredded into pieces by a piece of by a bomb, and he was up close to the guy and he saw that. And when he came back from Vietnam some years later, he started to have these experiences of feeling like something was taking him and abducting him or whatever. Does that mean that X, Y, and Z was going on and he was abducted by aliens, or it was the Galactic Command giving him upgrades, or it was this or it was that? No, but whatever it was, it sure as shit was something. And uh it probably was triggered by that stress and that shock of that situation. Psychedelic violence, crime of visual shock. That's just something to think about. Anyways, I guess that's about it for me. Thanks for tuning in and happy trails.